So when I originally, when this drawing was put in place,
Mm.
I originally it was live. We didn't really understand. Now, after building and seeing applications, start to look at really culture is our taken for granted knowledge of all the employees, right? It's all this knowledge that they have about how they show up at work, right? And it manifests in our business practices. But this is what I thought. It comes from our professional experience, right? Which means we can effectively, if we know how somebody thinks, we can effectively change the DNA of an organization, which is pretty interesting. And now typically what would happen is before that need would be some kind of an event, an M&A event.
Right.
Someone's like, we want to do digital transformation. There's a failure.
Right. That's
Right.
a
But it's interesting in multifamily, it's a transactional business. So we're constantly going in and out of business. You're buying a property and it's going through its 3-year cycle and it's exiting. So that's an exit. Right? So new buyers are coming in and we're trying to assess, what do we have? Who do we have?
Who do we have?
And we do this when we look at property. We're making millions of dollars investment in property, physical property. But when it comes to the people, we're not really doing that. And so I thought that was really interesting. And then the other thing is, like, you think about culture as a system, in that some of these things that happen that we see in our culture are mostly reactions
To external circumstances.
to external circumstances. But where do those circumstances come from?
Well, how the business is running and the market around it, but how the business is operating and functioning within its environment.
And it operates and function because people have past experiences. Now introduce the world underneath us is shifting because AI is rearranging work. So our old known business knowledge of how work used to happen is no longer that valuable unless we know how to change.
If anything, it'll entrench you deeper in and get you stuck or unable to change.
Right. You're essentially manufacturing status quo. And so at the center of this is how they think, the dominant logics, the mental models of how they see the world, those reasoning models that can ultimately show up in work and how it happens. So, and I thought this was interesting. This is more like work that Dr. David White would do, which is more change management stuff, which is like diagnosing as an organization, but interviewing people and figuring out, how these conversations go and running some analysis, running some survey, and then ultimately giving some decision intelligence to a company.
Recommendation or something that they can decide on and say, oh, we can do this to change, or at least that's where we are now, kind of thing.
Yeah. And now we're doing this in the interview. And most recently, what I loved about this new research out, how generative AI can actually do a better job of persuading somebody, not because it's manipulating or hallucinating, but because you're getting rid of all that tension, the ego, the frustration, the bias, all that stuff in that conversation. And now the real human shows up. They open up, pretty interesting.
Well, they can actually consider the other perspective fairly objectively compared to, like, if the other objective is presented by a boss, you already have a bias toward agreeing with it because it's your boss. Or maybe, if it's a coworker you don't like and they present something, you're going to have a bias not to like the thing.
Yeah.
It's not whether the thing was right or wrong, it's who presented it. But with the AI, you remove that extra bias.
Yeah. So